Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
It's time for another episode of All Politics Are Local with your host, Barry Dee.
Welcome to another episode of All Politics Are Local, and as you may have already guessed, I'm your host, Barry Dee. We're broadcasting live from the WCHE studios in the lovely borough of Westchester, right down the street from Saloon 151. There's a totally shameless plug for one of our neighbors, huh?
All right.
I love when Matthew McConaughey comes on just for like a quick guest spot. We got a full studio here today. To my left, I have somebody here that runs EAA Radio, Experimental Aircraft Association Radio out in Oshkosh, and he wanted to come in, and you can see his hand in the camera now. He does that every year, and he's an old radio guy. And to my right, I have Brian Dunn from West Whiteland Township, who's going to be talking with us in about a half hour, talking about all that's good and well in West Whiteland, and maybe some bad things too. Who knows? That's up to him. So, what's on our first show of this season for season 2? I can't believe they kept me here. I have my monologue, 5 Minutes with Jack, Carla from Chester County Ramblings, and of course, as I said, my guest today, Brian Dunn. At the boards is my trusty sidekick, Eric Clambera. Yep, we're like Batman and Robin. Also, although sometimes he's a bit more like the Joker.
Wait till they get a load of me.
It's that time of the show where we travel back a quarter century. That's 25 years to you non-linguistic types out there. A time when making fun of people was still a sport and it was good-natured. So let's return to that year 2000 and visit a commercial that wouldn't dare be produced by the same company today.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Beach Metal Detector Guy.
Mr. Beach Metal Detector Guy.
Some seek their fortune on the stock market, others in real estate. But you look for loose change in the sand.
Hitting the jackpot.
Armed with a 5-foot Geiger counter and the world's largest set of earphones, you live your life with a simple code of honor. Finders keepers, losers weepers.
Finders keepers.
Sure, people mock you, but he who holds 92 cents, a gold-plated earring, and a steel-toed boot gets the last laugh.
Who's laughing now?
So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, oh Sultan of the Sand. We'd give you a medal, but you probably already found one.
Mr. Beach Metal Detector Guy.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
All righty, it's now time for my monologue.
Words.
Thank you, Beavis. This is the official episode 1 of season 2 of my show. I started working here at WCHE 7 months ago after being away from radio for over 30 years. I wasn't involved in talk radio. It was top 40 radio. In fact, back then, the fairness doctrine was just being vanquished. For those of you, which is most people unless you're a radio or political junkie, that don't know this, let me give you a brief overview of what the fairness doctrine was. In 1949, the FCC created a policy that required broadcast licensees to present controversial issues, and they had to fairly reflect different viewpoints. That sounds pretty fair, right? Now, there were 2 basic elements to it. One, broadcasters had to devote airtime to discussing controversial matters that were of public interest, and there had to be contrasting views of the subject. While opposing viewpoints did not have to be given equal time, like a lot of people thought, they did have to be presented so that viewers could hear the different viewpoints. That sounds fair, right? Well, it really wasn't. This administrative law gave the impression that that was equal time, and again, it wasn't. Also, the rulings on the complaints could be very arbitrary, and radio stations would just rather not have any talk about politics for fear of not getting their license renewed. The broadcaster may not be fined or chastised by the FCC, but when renewal time came around, that license just wouldn't get renewed. The station could potentially be out of business. That's a big chance that station owners weren't really willing to risk. In 1987, while Ronald Reagan was president, the FCC dismantled the fairness doctrine, not as a matter of partisanship, but as a matter of principle. The FCC chairman that led the way said the doctrine impinged on the First Amendment, competition to become greater in media outlets. There were just simply more stations on the market at that point. Then this came to a time that the only thing that protected Ronald Reagan from being completely hammered by the media was the fairness doctrine. But it was time for it to go, and President Reagan, he supported that belief. Congress tried to get legislation passed to resurrect it. Reagan vetoed it. Congress tried again during George H.W. Bush's presidency in 1991, but he warned he would veto it, and it died. There have been other attempts to resurrect the fairness doctrine in 2005 and 2019, both failing. Some in Congress even thought it should apply to cable TV, satellite radio, and the internet, places where content is paid for. People are actually choosing to pay for what they listen to, and if they don't like it, the listener can stop the subscription. That is the fairness doctrine, personal choice. Yet they wanted to get in and legislate on that too. There were obligations that continued on until the year 2000. The personal attack rule and the political editorial rule, both rules in essence required the same actions to take place, whether it was a person or group that was the subject of a personal attack in a broadcast, or in the case of political editorial endorsement was made to a specific candidate. The aggrieved parties had to be notified within a week, with transcripts sent to them of what was said, and an offer to respond on air. Now imagine the obligations and cost to the media outlet. It's ongoing. And what if you don't feel it's something like that, but somebody else does and they sue you over it? Again, your license could be gone. So in the year 2000, a court of appeals required the FCC to justify both rules, and when the FCC did not provide prompt justification, both corollary rules were repealed in October of 2000. Now, why am I talking about this? One, because you should know about it, because it's where we've evolved since the earlier advent of radio and media broadcasting, but also things that are happening around the world. I mean, you'd expect things to be heavily legislated or ruled in some countries like North Korea, things like that. But for example, in Brazil, there are laws that are in place that if someone, say a politician, states something and it's recorded unbeknownst to that speaker, and that recording gets to the press and is aired, the person that stated those words can be prosecuted, never giving permission for it to be on the air, anything like that. Just think about that. You say what's on your mind, and all of a sudden the whole world knows about it. You are basically accused of broadcasting something you shouldn't have. And that could just be talking bad about the government in Brazil. It's a pretty stiff thing. In the UK, there's a saying now from the government that says, think before you post. Think about that. It means that you had better make sure that you want to say something that you're posting on the internet, because it could be deemed hate speech or offensive, and you could do jail time. At the very least, you could spend an awful lot of money just to prove your innocence. And there's been many instances of that in the UK. And there's a lot of people in their 20s that don't think anything of it, and they post it, and next thing you know, the government's knocking on their door, taking them in. So be glad we have the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, protected as much as possible. You may not like what is said, but you have the right to counterpoint it. When speech is shut down, your life becomes controlled by what may not be the truth. It may be sold and packaged as truth, but whose truth and how true is it? Anybody I have invited onto my show, the many people that have turned me down or ignored the request to come on the show, well, they're still welcome to come on to talk about the same subject they were invited on to talk about. Why? Because I want the listener to hear what the guest has to say. Not because I'm forced to, but because I want the public to hear their side. And that, my friends, is my fairness doctrine. Welcome to 2025. So let's head over to 5 Minutes with Jack. Jack's a good friend of mine that I asked to come back on the air, and he gets 5 minutes to talk about what he wants to talk about. Jack, are you with me?
I am, Barry. Good morning and Happy New Year to you.
The same to you, Jack. How was your New Year?
Absolutely fabulous, nice and quiet.
Mine was too. Mostly I just worked trying to get things done, getting ready for the show and all that. And luckily, I had no issues with any Venezuelan gangs or anything like that. for my holidays. How about you?
Well, I didn't encounter any, but I do understand that they've our favorite transnational gang member group, Tres de Aragua, also known as the Starbucks gang members.
The Starbucks gang. I would like that in a grande, please.
I think it is muy grande now, Barry, because it seems like they permeated into 17 states now. And I think you remember some months ago we spoke about them when they took over some apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado.
No, they never took over any apartment complexes. In fact, I can tell you for a fact that the government would never lie to you about that. And in 2021, that gang started causing problems in Aurora. And that's in 2021. And in September of this past year, 2024, after publicly denying the gang's involvement in any complexes, there were no complexes, turned out to be 3. There were two different people, a person named Kaufman and a councilwoman, Danielle Jurinsky, offered a joint statement admitting that city officials knew that Tres de Aragua's actions had been known for months. So they looked into the cameras and they lied to people about that. And I know that would come as a shock to you, Jack, but I find this type of thing revolting over and over again. The government lies to us about things as despicable as complexes. 3 complexes from 0 to just 1. They said, oh, it's just 1 to 3 is what it finally came out as. I find it despicable that elected officials and even administrative officials lie to the people that pay their salaries like that.
Absolutely tremendous. Certainly not shocking. And as you mentioned, not just 1, but 3. And of course, don't let what your eyes see deceive you. Much like the border, and speaking of the border, the Starbucks gang members from Venezuela decided that since there's less than 3 weeks away of the border being secure, that they would bum rush the border in El Paso.
Wait, no, the border is secure. I've heard that over and over again from our Homeland Security chief. There's nothing wrong with our border, Jack.
Mayorkas says it, then it's true,
yes,
without question.
He has said the border is secure and there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to fear.
And echoed by many others outside the video proof. And now here, just on Tuesday, they bum rushed the border in El Paso, armed with knives, tire irons, broken bottles, knowing that the border is going to be secure. And it's just absolutely tremendous to me that we continue to allow this behavior to go on and on and on.
It's horrible. When this happens, we're talking about the taxpayers, and even if they don't pay taxes, the citizens of the United States are being put in danger by these people coming over the border. And we keep hearing they're good people, they're decent people, but they're not vetted people. So we really don't know if they're good or decent.
Other than they're breaking the law to enter the country.
Yeah, other than that fact, they're normally law-abiding citizens. Other than the fact they start with breaking the law, they're not bad people, apparently. Or at least that's what I'm told.
Well, and I don't think the Starbucks gang members are coming here to be migrant farm workers. Do you? Or are they going to be new landlords in Colorado?
Well, that would certainly be one thing, wouldn't it? But I just don't see them picking tomatoes, my friend.
I don't think so, unless they're going to use tire irons as a new picking tool.
In fact, most likely they would be shaking down the tomato pickers for their meager wages that they have earned.
Yes, holding them hostage.
I would expect that. I would expect that more than anything.
Yeah, and extorting rent out of them. Hey, listen, by the way, your rent isn't due to the landlord anymore. We're picking up the rent.
Right, exactly. And it'll be due on the 15th and the 30th. Yeah,
and don't be late. I'd hate that there'd be a fire in here.
That's right. That's right. Look, this is for 4 years we've dealt with this. 4 years. And then, of course, there was the news that they were going to sell what border wall there was because it was rusty and probably no good anymore. Now, how is that possible that all this border fence they built, just because it was sitting, was going to be no good because it got rusty? It sits there for 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
I think we still have I still think we have bridges throughout the country made of this fantastic material.
Called steel.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't get it, man.
I think most of the bridges I travel over are outside.
They actually designed some of these metals that when they corrode over, that's what actually protects them. The corrosion is what protects them.
That's a true fact. And in Pittsburgh, the U.S. Steel building in Pittsburgh has that rust coating on it by design. So I know there's a metallurgy phenomenon with that. I just don't know it, but I know that it prevents it from corroding any further. As you mentioned, Biden thumbs people in the eye and the next administration in the eye saying, oh, yeah, I know that you already paid for this material to build the wall, but you didn't get it done last time. So before you come back this time, I'm giving it away at 5 cents on the dollar, even though the American taxpayer paid for that.
I saw that Governor Abbott in Texas was working on trying to stop that from happening. Didn't that get stopped in the courts, though?
I don't know. It's always amazing to me that this Justice Department seems to fight against securing the border. I think you might remember in Eagle Pass when the governor decided that he was going to put up razor wire to prevent massive amount of illegals entering the country. And the Justice Department fought against that.
Yes, it was unbelievable, and they made him take it down.
Yes. I don't know about you, Barry, but or others out there, I'm just waiting for the madness to stop and just common sense. That's all I'm asking. Just common sense, border security, follow the laws. Let's not import gang members and unvetted illegal criminals into our country that seem to terrorize people across the country.
By the way, somebody just came in the studio here and they handed me several different things that are kind of conflicting but still agree. That 3 days ago, a federal judge said that the U.S. can't sell off the border wall materials. Then 2 days ago, the Biden administration agrees to stop selling extra border wall materials. So, after they're forced to not be able to do it, they agreed to it. I don't get that. And then apparently also Texas bought $12 million worth of the border wall materials in the meantime to protect it from going anywhere. Wow. Yeah, so there are several actions on several different fronts to work on this thing. But again, just appalling what they're doing to the American citizen.
Well, Barry, think of the level of effort that had to be put into place to sell this material. You had to hire an auction group. Mm-hmm. They had to inventory it. They had to take all the pictures. They had to post it, and they have to do all these things. So our government, the current government or current administration, organized all this, paid for it. That means there were people that were involved for creating the paperwork trail and making the phone calls and putting this all together. To what means?
Just to screw the American public. That's all I can say. I just don't understand it. I understand people want immigrants in this country, and I do too. I want legal immigrants in here. I have a lot of friends that come over here. They've come over on the visas. They've done a lot of things, and I even know some illegals, and they're wonderful people, the ones that I know. They're good people. They've been here for 20, 25 years. But the fact is, so many of these people have come over. They're not vetted. In the middle of the COVID situation where people were being forced to get COVID shots, these people were being brought over the border and didn't have to do anything. It's just so upside down, and it was so anti this country. I don't get it. I just don't get it. It was against Democrats. It was against Republicans. It was against independents. It was against everybody. I don't know what their main game is. I guess maybe destruction to whether they can rebuild it to however they want afterwards, but that's merely speculation. All I can tell you is it's repulsive, and I'm hoping to God it comes to an end under this new administration.
I think that's a good hope to have entering 2025, Barry.
Yes, I think it is. And let's hope for the best. Jack, I should let you go, and we'll talk again next week.
Excellent. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you, Jack. We'll see you. Let's take a break and come back with Carla from Chester County Ramblings.
Barry Dee is back with All Politics Are Local.
All right, I am back. Thank you, J-Bo Jones. And on the line, I have Carla from Chester County Ramblings. Carla, be nice, because we got Brian Dunn sitting in the other chair. Wait for that.
But you kept your girl waiting, and he knows how I feel about that.
Hold on, get your theme. There you go. There you go.
Not nice to keep Carla waiting.
Yeah, I know. I always push your show ahead. Got to do it because God knows what kind of wrath I'll get from you. What do you got today, Carla?
All right. Happy New Year. It's 2025. And I'm glad you have Brian Dunn sitting next to you because he's actually an elected official in Chester County who cares. But anyway, I'm starting a new year thinking about the special beauty and history of Chester County and how fast it is disappearing. Warehouses, residential developments, pipelines, data center warehouses, and then hydrogen hubs if they can get them. Last week, I went to say goodbye for now to a local business I loved as much because of the antiques and crafts housed within as I just loved the big old barn herself. I'm talking about Old Mill Antiques at Ellis Lane and Strasburg Road in West Goshen. And East Goshen is right across the Ellis Lane there, as an interesting point of fact, as you know. So I knew this property had to be sold to settle estate taxes. That is the sad, sorry state of affairs when it comes to land in this Commonwealth, as land prices are being driven up by development and other things, and often the heirs can't afford to keep what they've grown up with.
That's true.
I first learned about this property almost 2 years ago at this point, and I thought it was supposed to be sold before this and closed already, but apparently the deal didn't close, and now it's this summer coming up in 2025. A developer's buying the land. There are noises about preserving and restoring the farmhouse. I'm going to put that preserving and restoring in air quotes because we've seen what they do.
Oh, yeah. I've actually seen that up in West Vincent Township.
But as of right now, the beautiful big stone barn that's probably a couple 100 years old is coming down. And it is a beautiful barn which has already been working as an adaptive reuse for years, which means it can continue to be an adaptive reuse. But to developers, it's more valuable torn down because then they can throw up more whatever they're building. In this case, it is some form of residential. The developer's out of Lancaster County. It's not a name that's familiar to me. And it's just a sin that a developer out of Lancaster County can't appreciate the beauty of farmhouses and barns in Pennsylvania, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of an oxymoron on that, right? I mean, or I don't even know what you call it. Skewed. Let's go with the word skewed.
Let's just go with messed up.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this. As I said at the beginning, this is West Goshen. West Goshen doesn't pay enough mind to historic preservation. If things get saved in West Goshen that are old, it's luck, in my opinion, much like any place else around here. And the chair of the West Goshen Supervisors, except she might not be a chair as of the next reorg, is Ashley Gagne, and I hope I pronounced that correctly because she gets all in a tizzy about that. And apparently the rumor mill, the last part of 2024, is that she wants to run for county commissioner. I think the voters of West Goshen and Chester County need to make sure that this woman just goes home and spends time enjoying emptying her dishwasher with her children.
Well, I look forward to interviewing her for that run.
Yeah, right, and then pigs will fly. She is not a particularly good or adept elected official, and she will cry a river that moi, this blogger, is talking about her as a politician once again, and sorry, not sorry, in my opinion, she is not fit to serve, and she has the disease called the run-fors because she also tried to run for state rep over there early on as a supervisor. And I really wonder why it is that she and her fellow West Goshen supervisors don't seem to care about what residents actually want and what concerns them. Do you?
Yeah, that's kind of
historic
scary.
Preservation in West Goshen, maybe they need to get to it over there along with meaningful land preservation, not just what developers don't want to build on. Now, the other thing is when the issue of this property being sold came to light at some point, the chair of the East Goshen Supervisors and I don't know if she will be after reorg, Michelle Truitt, a.k.a. former State Rep Dan Truitt's wife. Now, a little digression here. He's a nice enough fellow who won't set the world on fire, but I think he's also on the Planning Commission in East Goshen now, and I just wonder how that works when your wife is a supervisor, let alone the chair. Who recuses when? But I digress. I said that. The reason I mentioned Michelle Truitt is when she found out this property was being sold, she flapped over to see the seller and seemed to talk a good game about saving the barn and then evaporate it. And what's that about? You can always talk a good game, Michelle, but then you evaporate. Sometimes you actually have to follow through. Also, it would help if you didn't try to tell me things like how long and complicated it is to reverse an eminent domain taking resolution. But again, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, you know what? We changed. We proved how quick that could be done in West Vincent 15 years ago, you and I.
That is the truth.
Yep.
The overall issue here, however, is that tired old topic I keep mentioning called the Municipalities Planning Code, which has not been comprehensively updated in a meaningful way since 1969. They have applied Band-Aids here and there, but these people we elect to state office need to stop talking about doing things for their constituents and get off their keisters and enact an act of the state constitution and comprehensively overhaul this weighty tome that guides all the local zoning so our communities actually are protected. We need greater protection for farms and historic structures and open space and our general way of life. And if they don't care, then 2025 needs to be the year that we seriously start replacing these people, and it doesn't matter what political persuasion they are. If they aren't about helping us save the natural beauty and traditions and more of Chester County, then why are they in office? They are supposed to represent us. If they would do their job on a state level, they would give local officials more tools in their toolbox to balance the pace of development with preserving our county. And it's not just Chester County suffering from this, it's all of southeastern PA and statewide. Right now, because of the way zoning codes have to follow the municipality's planning code, there are very few tools that local officials can actually use, even if they want to. And some of them really do want to listen to their constituencies. I think 2025, Barry, may be a pivotal year in our county, and I'm hoping for better things. And thank you for letting me rant.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, Carly. You got a lot of good things in there. And look, the bottom line is TDRs, things like that, they were late coming, but that has helped. But, more can be done.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, listen, thank you so much. We'll talk again next week.
All right, my dear.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Get that little shout out there, Brian. Let's take a break, and we're going to come back with my studio guest. That's Brian Dunn, supervisor from West Whiteland Township, and he's going to talk about the goings-on in his township.
Barry Dee is back with All Politics Are Local.
That's right, I'm back, and my guest today is Brian Dunn, a guy I met at a Christmas party just a few weeks ago, and we had a great conversation from music to politics to, well, you name it. We just had a great time. So I invited him on the show and foolishly accepted, and then the funny thing is I had a guest scheduled for 30 days ago. 30 days was supposed to come in today. Canceled on me like 4 days ago. And I called Brian. He goes, yeah, come on, no problem. So now, Brian, I got to tell you, I normally have an intro song for my guests. And yours is kind of a mix of part of a story you told me about and you being supervisor. So here it is. All right, so the reason for that, but,
yeah,
a lot of people don't,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, well, anyway, first of all, good morning, Barry.
Good morning, Brian.
And I also want to make a comment here. I come walking in and I see this kid here, and I call him a kid because he's a kid to me. But I hear his last name is Clambara, so I say, are you related to these Clamberas that I knew? And of course, his dad. I knew his dad from when he was 12 years old, and his two uncles. And what a crew! They were great from my old neighborhood, and it was just amazing that you see a young strapping guy here, and I kind of remember when he was born.
Right,
so
right,
it's
running
one
the
of those
boards.
things. Yeah, right. But in reference to that, I am a musician, and I also like to play out. I still play out on the weekends, so forth. And I had the opportunity to be on tour with the Stones a long time ago, and we had discussed that, and that's why he did that theme song. So, but
as a supervisor, sometimes you just can't get any satisfaction.
You can't get any satisfaction ever, and it kind of fits right into the whole thing. So
I thought that would work for you. I thought that would work for you.
Yeah.
So, we got to talking. Great conversation. I mean, God. Probably an hour at that party. I was taking up a lot of your time. Your wife was kind of like, "Can't you just shake this guy?"
Yeah.
So
it was all good. It was a good time, and So you wanted to hear,
I want to hear
things about West Whiteland.
West Whiteland, which I lovingly call West King of Prussia now. It has grown so much. I mean, from the days, look, I go back to the days of the Exton Drive-In, which you can still see in the Hooters video.
That's
and
right.
We danced.
Yep.
And the Kmart across the street, and the was it Twin Eric movie theater?
The movie theater,
right?
Yeah, I remember.
I go back to the time where I don't know if it's the Indian restaurant or what kind of restaurant it is there right next to the Pep Boys. That was a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Pep Boys.
Right,
there was nothing like that. Route 100 was a 2-lane road, as well as Route 30. The Exton Lodge sat where it was before the Denny's, before the bank.
Right.
Hojo's was at the corner. The Vittle House, 99 Sandwiches, which that got knocked down and became a nightclub called, I don't know, the Library or something like that. That was the first nightclub in the area, was in Exton.
Yeah.
It was in West Whiteland Township. Exton Mall, kind of built on a quarry, 1972, 73, something like that.
72, I think it was.
I remember all of those things.
Yeah.
That was what it was. And between the town of the village of Eagle in Upper Euclid Township and Westchester, there was really only Lionville was a nothing. Lionville was actually off to the side of Route 100. Route 100 was actually a concrete ribbon that went through Village Avenue a long time ago. But what I remember was the Route 100 where it is now. But Lionville was a nothing. There was nothing there. Marchwood was just getting built down on the right-hand side. So there was only two things. It was Exton, and then you were in Westchester.
Yeah.
And we went to Westchester for the sidewalk sales.
Yeah.
So now you are a supervisor with West Whiteland Township. It has changed dramatically.
I've watched the change
thousands
over the years. I mean, my mother and father-in-law, they had a house built in 1958 in West Whiteland Township.
Really?
Yeah. And my wife was born and raised in West Whiteland, and I've been together with my wife for almost 42 years. So, used to court her back in the day, and I watched everything change.
And you were courting her, and you were living where then? You were down in?
Well, I grew up in Delaware County.
Delco, yeah.
I was originally from Yeadon, Pennsylvania.
There's reason to move.
Well, hey, it was a great neighborhood when I was growing up, and you can't get any more Delco than that.
Right.
It's got to know its limitations.
Thank you, Eric.
But it was kind of fun because my family had a restaurant in Fraser, and I used to work there from when I was a kid, and I used to come up and used to look at all the beautiful farmlands and the openness, and you're coming from right outside of Southwest Philadelphia and West Philadelphia, and then you're coming out to a beautiful area like that.
They refer to our area as the mountains.
We're
going out to the mountains.
The sticks, as many people say. What are you doing out there in the sticks?
Yeah.
But it was nice, and I actually enjoyed coming out to see my wife. I met her through the restaurant there, and I used to go out there and meet up with my wife, and I just don't know how I became supervisor of the township that I was so infatuated with from when I was a kid, saying I'd love to live out here one day. And I've been living in West Whiteland for probably about 25 years or so now, and I love my township. I absolutely love it, even though it's built up more than I would have liked it to build up.
Sure.
I mean, over the years. I mean, you see that, but I mean,
its destiny was written.
You can't control.
A long time ago.
You can't control that half the times. I mean, it's unfortunate and to a point, but it's such a wonderful township, and we have the. I just want to toot the horns of our township a little bit. We have such a great staff in our township. We have a great manager, Pam Garrell-Bear. She's awesome. Works all around the clock. I mean, she's just fantastic. We have a great board. In fact, I'd like to give a plug to one of my board members. He's running for re-election.
You
this
got the
year.
mic, so.
Yeah, his name is Raj Cambrardi. He's been there 6 years as a supervisor. He's done a great job, and love to see him get reelected. Because he's a good guy. That being said, we've had some wonderful things over the years taking place. Not all negative with all the building and so forth. Monday, we're having a ribbon cutting for the Public Works facility that was in.
Oh, right.
That was in the works for many, many years.
Right. Where's that located?
Right on Valley Creek Road by Church Farm School. It's right behind that church. Beautiful building. Everything was done so well from the construction, from the drawing it up. We had the facility costs about $14.6 million. And what's great about the township is we were able to generate $2.3 million in grant money. We sold the other public works facility. It's behind Pep Boys.
Sure. That was pretty small for your size township. What's
for the
population?
size of the township, you just can't continue to operate.
Yeah. What's the size
properly.
population there?
Well, it's probably about 20,000.
Yeah,
so
substantial.
It's pretty substantial.
That eclipses Euclid Township.
Yeah. But we were able to sell that for $4.3 million in an auction, and we sold an old barn across from the park off of Sweetsford. For $1 million. And then we got a bond for $6 million, and then the rest was in our savings that we had for many, many years that was building up for that. And,
I'm doing the math in my head. It seems like it didn't cost the taxpayers too god-awful much.
No,
really.
It really didn't affect them
because you had
much
other
at
assets.
all. No, and we had the assets, which I'm kind of proud of that, how that all worked out and panned out, and what a team and what a staff and just everybody working together to make it happen.
And I would expect the life expectancy on that building will probably be another 30, 40, 50 years. So it's going to carry you out. You won't even be around.
Yeah,
so.
I won't even be around.
Good.
But it's a great building. We're really proud of it. We're going to have a ribbon cutting on Monday around 3:30, weather permitting.
Right. Yeah. And, the trucks may be out.
Yeah. They might be picking up salt. But it's a great facility. I'm really proud of it. And and then the other thing. I guess that I'd like to talk about is trash.
Trash is an interesting problem, isn't it? Because trash is magical, right? You put it at the end of your driveway and it disappears. It's just gone, right?
Sure.
And people don't realize what actually happens with trash. And in your case, how do you guys handle trash now?
Well, right now we have a system that's in place, and the system for the longest time was a pretty unique system, and it worked well. You go and you buy a trash bag for $2.50. It's a pay-as-you-throw type program.
How'd you do it so cheap? Honeybrook Township was like $7 a bag.
Yeah, I don't know why they were charging so much. I mean, unless they're getting hit with the landfills a little more, know. But
I don't know. But that's a hell of a deal.
It was, yeah. I mean, we charge $89 for a recycling fee with your taxes, and then it's $2.50 a bag. And a lot of the seniors and retired folks benefit a lot from it.
Sure.
The unfortunate part of it, though, is that the contract that we have with Blazinski is coming up this year. And they're hitting us with about the last we did an RFP with all the contractors. We're trying to be so proactive and do everything we can possibly do to get the best for the residents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right now, it's about an 81% hike to what we were paying with the contract. So it's a big increase. And Blazinski is the one who actually won that. So, just to give you a little background on Blazinski, we've had a lot of issues with them over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that on the internet. Not just
I mean,
guys,
we have about 6,000 people on the pay-as-you-throw program with West Whiteland. Then you have your HOAs and you have other trash pickups and so forth. Of the 6,000, we probably had about 5,000 complaints, emails, people not getting their trash picked up on time.
That was the biggest one. When they did their transition to whoever bought them, they're not the same company anymore.
They're not the same anymore.
And that was the big complaint.
Yes. So, I mean, it was a big problem, and the lack of service. And now they're wanting a lot more money on their contracts, so we have to look at other avenues. And we're looking at everything. We're looking at possibly doing it on our own. We're looking at another RFP we put out for bids again.
Right.
We have other contracts to see what we can do. Unfortunately, the bags are probably going to become obsolete because a lot of these contractors, they all want totes. They all want the bins. They don't want to deal with the trash bags. If we were able to do it on our own, we can probably make exceptions to some tight areas, and not have totes and just trash bags. But it's going to be interesting to try to put these things into place, and we're working very hard on that. And we've been working on it for quite a while. How it's going to pan out, I'm still not sure. But it's just it's going to be different.
Yeah. Oh, and that's right. The change is always that. You know what? We got to take a break. Speaking of change, we need to make some change to be able to pay the bills.
Absolutely.
So we're going to jump over to a commercial. We'll be back with Brian Dunn from West Whiteland Township in 2 minutes.
Barry Dee is back with All Politics Are Local.
I am back. I'm with Brian Dunn from West Whiteland Township, if you're just tuning in. And we are talking about the issues that face West Whiteland and their fancy schmancy new municipal services building, right? The
Public Works.
Public Works.
Yeah,
and proud of you guys doing that, because that other one was way too small at that point. It was just, you guys were struggling with that. So it was good to do that. And you just planned it for long term, man. So you're not spending money again for a while.
That's correct.
So that's good. So, a lot of municipalities with this trash thing, like you're talking about, like I said, Honeybrook just bailed. They just bailed. They just told their people, a month or two notice. They were like, hey, sayonara, we're not dealing with it anymore because the prices just went through the roof. And they were already like $7 a bag or something. Wow. And I'm kind of impacted by that right now because of something I work with. But so there are options. There's options to go to other people. Everything's expensive out there. There's the ability for the municipalities to run their own municipal pickup. Have you considered that?
We have. We've looked into how many trucks, and we have the area that we can possibly get some grant money and build, another garage right where the Public Works facility is.
There's room for expansion.
There's room for expansion there.
Nice.
We're looking into that in detail. We're looking at, like I said, every option that there is possible that's going to benefit the residents. We're in a situation right now. Everything has gotten so expensive and so out of hand, and our contract is up in 2025, which is this year. We're going to try to put an extension if we can to try to buy some time, and we're going to just be proactive and do the best we can.
Right, because jumping into trash hauling is not something you want to do. I mean, you really need to calculate a lot of things because fuel expenses, you have more employees on. Employees have pensions or 401ks, probably 401ks in West Whiteland.
They have pensions in West Whiteland, the non-uniform pensions. But, doing it, whatever it takes. I mean, doing it yourself isn't so bad. It probably would take about 5 trucks. It would hire more people, which would give more jobs. And the amount of money that comes in if you calculate the $89 a year, and then the $2.50 per bag per household if somebody uses an average of 2 trash bags or whatever it may be.
Right.
That comes out to quite a few dollars, which is more than enough to pay salaries. It's more than enough to pay for the trucks, and it's more than enough to pay for the landfills and the tipping charges, and the tipping fees.
Well, that's a lot of people don't count on, because there are tipping fees. It's so much per ton, along with just showing up the door and going, "Hey, I'm here with a boatload of trash."
Exactly. So there is. I mean, and it would be a set fee that instead of the $2.50, you would have 89. It wouldn't be 89. It would maybe be another figure. We haven't really come to that final number yet, but it would be enough to generate whatever we're doing, and it would be very close to what people are paying now. So they don't have to scare the public with that. I mean, it's not going to be far fetched or out of control.
Now, East Fallowfield, they contract a company every year, and it's varied so much. It's unbelievable. It's varied. It's gone to $250, $400 and some. It all depends. Every couple of years, it's changing numbers.
Sure,
you can't keep up with it. I hear from people on that place, and it's an unpredictable. It changes almost every year. The numbers change, and of course, fuel expenses going up, things like that, insurances, that type of thing. Of course, when you're a municipality, your insurance, you're buying so much insurance, you tend to get a pretty good deal on stuff as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But that's a difficult one, and your job is health, safety, and welfare, right?
Yes.
So you're talking about a lot of health, safety, and welfare for your people. Trash is like the number one thing. Trash and sewage. Trash, sewage, and police.
And people are passionate about their trash, and rightfully so.
Yes.
Look, you put your trash out, you want it gone.
You want it gone.
You want it gone. You don't want to come out or go to work, come back from work, and see your trash still sitting out there in the yard. Nobody wants to see that.
No, nobody.
It's amazing how that affects people. It affects me. I don't want to see it. I put my trash out to be collected, and you're paying for a service, and you want it to be done.
That's exactly it.
And we strive to really make that as best a scenario as we can. And it's just we have our work cut out for us this year, and what we're going to do. But we do have the residents' best interest at hand.
Let me throw one more thing at you, because we've only got a couple minutes now.
Sure.
Your fire company, West Whiteland Fire Company, great company.
Yeah,
they do a fantastic job.
Yes.
Hasn't really had any expansion over the years, really. It's kind of the same place, the same thing. Is there any plans for that? I mean, I bet you they're taking more calls now than they ever have. I'm just speculating. I don't know.
Well, they are, and they are planning on expanding their firehouse there.
Yeah. They're on a postage stamp, man.
Yeah. They're a separate entity.
Yeah, right. They're independent.
And they're their own business.
Uh-huh.
We try to help them as much as we can as a township, and we do funding and so forth. Fire trucks, this, that, and everything. And
sure. And that's a difficult one, because they got to replace those fire trucks every couple of years. And I know that up in Ludwig's, they're running up. Oh my God, $1 million is a nothing now. It's a nothing.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's amazing how expensive they are.
Yeah.
And we have issues with the ambulance and EMS and so forth, and we're panning all them out, and we're working them all out.
Do you have an emergency services tax? Do you guys participate in that?
We don't have per se a tax. We had an increase to go towards that last year. We changed the millage to try to help fund that, because every year we get hit with a large amount of requests from both the EMS and the fire department. And, each year it gets higher and higher, and because of the growth, with
more people, more calls.
More people, more calls.
The percentage is always kind of the same. It's just the population growth, right?
Right. And we have senior facilities that are within our township that are demanding of the
absolutely
EMS, these are issues that we face, and we have to address it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. Nobody's ever happy because they don't want more money coming out of their wallet, and I get it. And of course, you face another big thing that people don't want to deal with. Of course, just had the increase here at Chester County at 13.49%, and I think 4.9 or 4.7. And in that situation, look, I don't want the increase any more than anybody else does, because we're all just trying to chase it, because inflation is that insidious tax that we're all paying. Yeah. But a $20 is now only worth 80 cents.
Yeah. Hey, look, I don't like tax increases, just like anybody else. Nobody wants to pay more in taxes for anything, you know. But sometimes it's a necessity, and you know, when you have a lot of growth and you have a lot of demand, people tend to see 13.47% increase. Now, again, I had nothing to do with that. That's Chester County.
Right. Sure.
But I am just going to state that, you know, it's an average of about $150 a year increase in their taxes. It's not a detrimental number, whereas a lot of people may think that that's
the school tax,
part of the school tax, and part of all the taxes. It's just a certain tax, and it's not that detrimental, though. Although anything that goes up in today's world and the way the economics are right now is tough, and you know, you try not to.
And you just got to be acutely aware of it at all times.
You do, and it's a shame. You know, it had to happen, and but you know, it's not a crazy number as many people may think it is.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. So I'm going to share this with you. You know, I was kind of alluding to this whole thing with the Rolling Stones thing. Of course, you showed me a picture. I think it was your wife was with Keith Richards.
Yeah, she was being snuggled in between Keith and Ronnie backstage. That was.
And so I just wanted to share this with you. This is my lovely Miss Terry, who I call Princess.
Okay.
That's like 1993 with Duran Duran.
Wow. Well, see, that's awesome, though. You know, and these are
back in my radio days.
These are memories that you have forever, though.
Isn't
right?
that right?
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But
she was pretty smoking. Look at that. Well,
yeah.
I didn't say was, honey. I said is.
Yeah, there you
smoking.
go. There you go.
There you go. So,
but you know, hey, look, you know, I would love to put a plug in for myself if you don't mind.
Real quick. Go ahead and do that.
All right.
Do the close.
So my wife and I, we still play out. We're a couple of old heads that still like to play music out, and we're going to be playing at the Street Lake Grill Bar or Kitchen and Grill in Drexel Hill next Friday from 5 to 8.
Nice.
If anybody wants to come and see us, you know.
You know what? We got to have you here. When you're doing an appearance in Chester County, Eric, can we get him on the morning show, him and his wife?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
That'd be cool. We'll get Johnny. We'll talk off air about that.
I would love that. Yeah.
Let me close this out real quick.
Awesome.
Time to wrap up the show. Of course, thank you so much to Eric Clambera, my producer here on All Politics Are Local. He's also the daily co-host on the morning show, which includes me, Barry Dee, on Mondays and Wednesdays. Eric is in recovery after the holidays, between all the food from Christmas and New Year. He just isn't feeling that well, but his resolution is to lose 10 pounds, and he told me he only has 15 to go now.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
You ate it, Ralph.
I don't know why she calls you Ralph. Anyway, as my first show of the year, I'd like to promise that this year, all of the guests I invite on will come on, but there are ones that just won't do it. But what I can promise is that every week I will put my best foot forward to bring information to listeners that Chester County has not really had through its local news sources. And as always, I'd like to thank Donna Saul, the manager here at the radio station, and the bump she gave me in my pay. Now, Eric, my math isn't my strongest skill, as you know that. When Donna said she'd double my salary, how much is that exactly?
That'll be 0.
Yeah, that's what I afraid you were going to say. Support local radio like WCHE. We're the ones that have your back. Those Philly radio stations, they don't care about you. They just want your money to go to Philly businesses. Spend your money out here in Chester County instead. Support the local guys. They're your neighbors and your friends, and support those that sponsor WCHE. They are our community. And even if you don't have community, when you don't have community, you got nothing. So if you like my show, take the time to send a nice note to WCHE at WCHE1520.com. If you don't like the show,
this is all your fault, you.
Be sure to like and follow WCHE Facebook page, where you keep up on what's happening around the town and the county, and you can see my updates and videos on both my Facebook page, which is WCHE All Politics Are Local with Barry Dee, and my YouTube channel, All Politics Are Local with Barry Dee. Today's intro and outro music is from the band Chicago with the song Stronger Every Day, a Billboard Hot 100 hit that made number 10 in 1973, and I think Brian Dunn probably plays that. As the final advice of the day, starting the new year, people make their resolutions. Most break them and do it fairly soon. As my good friend Eric says, make them more achievable, perhaps maybe not so ambitious. I was once told that there's no such thing as a big job. It's just a bunch of small jobs sewn together, which was and is as true as it gets. But it is also the best way to look at things in order to accomplish a goal. Looking at the entire job is overwhelming. Looking at one small job at a time is merely another check mark. Pretty soon, all those little goals add up to one amazing accomplishment. give it a try. Be sure to tune into my new show, World Peace in One Easy Lesson, at 5 today. I'm Barry Dee for All Politics Are Local. Thanks for listening.